you just have to figure out, hey, how you can provide value. I know it's a cliche, but how you provide value, what you do well that other people find complicated. And really it comes down to return on investment. We work really hard to say, gosh, if you're spending money with us, we should be able to show you incremental returns because we want the money you spend with us to feel good.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Growth and Scaling Podcast. I'm your host, Todd Westra, and today we are going all the way back in time, and I'm talking all the way back to the beginning of the internet, to talk to an agency owner who has been developing websites since 1995. Yes, I said it, 1995. For those of you who don't know, that was pretty much the beginning of the internet to the general public. And from that time until now, he's grown and scaled an amazing agency of web developers, creatives, and messaging specialists who are taking businesses to the next level. This interview is fun because I always love talking to marketing agency owners. There's something about them and the way they talk and the way they describe their business, the stories they tell, that it's fascinating. It is entertaining. It's a great conversation. You're going to love talking to Jason and hearing about his journey and growing and scaling the business that he's been a part of since literally college. And so here we are 28 years later on the end of this journey, and they're still growing. They're still cycling. They're still developing new ways of doing their business. And so for those of you who are part of either a legacy business or a business that's been around for a while, it's never too late to innovate. And I hope you find some inspiration in this story, talking to Jason and learning more about his company. We'll see you on the flip side of this interview. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Growth and Scaling Podcast. I'm excited today to have another brilliant marketer on the podcast because they are the people that make the world go round. So Jason, tell us who you are and what kind of businesses do you like to help?
Oh, thanks, Todd. Appreciate you having me on. Try to make me blush, a brilliant marketer. I've been called a lot of things. That's a good one. My name's Jason. I'm the CEO, founder of GoldenCom. GoldenCom, we make websites work harder. That's what we do. So we look at people's websites and we figure out how to make them work harder for them.
Now, Jason, that's a very humble statement, and I get where you're going with this. But I mean, looking at the history of this company, well, first of all, I cannot believe you've been in the same business for 28 years, according to LinkedIn. I mean, GoldenCom, this is awesome. Tell us a little bit about that journey, because I honestly, you make websites work harder. In 1995, I can remember I was living overseas at the time, and I just barely heard of the internet. And so you literally have been part of this from the beginning. Tell me about this company first, and who you like to serve right now. And then I cannot wait to jump into how this thing started and where you brought it.
Yeah, 1995. That's probably about right. If my LinkedIn says that, that's probably sounds about right. And I was, the internet was just starting, and I started this company upstairs in my uncle's basement when I was working at another job. I was working at a water utility company.
Love it.
And one of my buddies from high school, from college, called and says, "Can you make our company a website?" And I said, "Yeah, I can do that." And he says, no, I really need, you to do a good job. If you can do this, can you really do it? I said, no, I can definitely do it. And he says, okay, well, go for it. And I said, great, I need $5,000. And he says, okay, that sounds fair. I said, I need $2,500 up front. And he says, fine.
Yeah.
And I bought my first computer. I
Awesome.
plugged it in, and
with the deposit, you bought the computer.
I never used the computer.
Love it.
So, I had one at work, but I wasn't very good at it. So
I
figured, but he couldn't find anyone to do this. So I said, if you can't find anyone to do it, well, I can do it. How's that?
Love it.
Yeah. That was a long time ago.
That is awesome. Literally in 1995, I had no idea what a website was. And so it wasn't until 1996 when I first dabbled in my first email. So as you started this journey, honestly, this is really fascinating for most people listening, because here you are this many years later. The business went from developing initial websites to going through all the cycles of internet marketing that we've seen over the years. What do you think that you do now differently that gives you a unique cutting edge on how you help people maximize their website?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So the internet's evolved. And I've had several inflection points personally on when our company had to adjust, literally adjust how we present ourselves. And I could tell several stories, but one is a Super Bowl story. And I tell this story a lot because lots of people watch the Super Bowl. And if you watch the Super Bowl because you're in marketing, you probably think the ads are just as interesting as the game. Of course. So
who hasn't?
Actually, when I'm like, the Super Bowl is playing, the ads come on. Usually you hear people go, shh, because they really pay attention because who is going to be the ads this year? So, this is 4 or 5, this is probably 6 years ago. The Super Bowl's on and the ads come, everybody quiet. And then there it was, the big ad that from, I think it was either Wix or Squarespace. You can make your website for free. And I'm thinking, oh, crap. We make websites for a living, and that's not good because now everybody thinks that what we do, we had 50, 60 people. It's free. Like, oh my God. So that was a little stressful. And,
no doubt.
But really no big deal. No, because you just have to figure out, hey, how you can provide value. I know it's a cliche, but how you provide value, what you do well that other people find complicated. And really it comes down to return on investment. We work really hard to say, gosh, if you're spending money with us, we should be able to show you incremental returns because we want the money you spend with us to feel good. Yeah, we want to feel good.
Right.
So
now this is interesting because, most people, when they're trying to sell their business, there's a lot of hype about how cool they are. There's a lot of hype about, why they do it better than anybody else. When I go to your website, I see something that's very telling. Your core values. Now, honestly, to me, that's magic. That is like something that's super cool. Tell me about how you built your foundation of your business, how you develop these core values, and why do you make this such a bullet point on who you are?
Oh, that's very observant, Todd. And thank you for even noticing. In studying a lot of leadership, and you've probably read all the same books I've read on leadership, and there are it's not a scarce subject. But it seemed like things that have in common in leadership is can you get everyone to buy in on the same philosophy? Can you get everyone to say, this is my tribe, this is what we do, and this is why we do it. And frankly, website companies, let's say I'm a website company, which certainly is a valid definition of what we are. I mean, if you get website proposals, from me or anyone else, you can take out the logo, put the different logo on. It's like that game with the which one. You can't tell the difference between any of us. I mean, we frankly all say the same thing: great website, responsive, SEO, SEM, pay-per-click, return. I mean, we all say the same thing. I mean, let's just call a spade. We're Legoists. We snap things together. But I think that as you develop culture and create buy-in, why you do things becomes more important than what you do. And so we lead with our values. As a matter of fact, our first interview for anyone who applies for a job here, I always do the first interview. I call it a culture call. Yeah. And anyone who has a job here in the last 10 years has had a culture call with me as their very first interview, because I want to make sure you're a good culture fit.
Yeah.
If you're not a good culture fit, it doesn't really matter how good you code.
Your skills don't matter. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You might be a great coder, but the question is, are we a better company with you here? That's really what it comes down to. Yeah. It doesn't make you a bad person if you're not a good culture fit. It doesn't make me a bad boss or us a bad company. But if it's not a fit, there's no reason to shove it in, And that's been a big part of our success. Yeah.
And clearly you do that with your staff, but how have you seen that affect the type of clients that you onboard? I'm curious.
100%. Most of our clients, we don't get so direct with this, but they know that I need to make money. I mean, they know that, and so the relationship of any business to business relationship is, can we both make money? Right. And if we can't, And that might be the objective. Maybe the objective is that we don't both make money. Maybe we have a client that wants us for a different reason. But most people hire us because they want to make money. I mean, they just do. It sounds crude, but it's truth. So we need to agree that we both need to make money. And I think we've got the skills and the techniques and the experience that you paying us. And I'll tell people, I wouldn't hire us if I were you. I would do this.
Right.
Because if we don't both make money, there's going to be hard feelings at the end. That's not very fun either.
And is there a niche? Is there a type of client that you love to serve? I mean, is there an avatar that you feel like, okay, if I could line up another 20 of these guys, that would be freaking awesome?
Oh gosh, yes, absolutely. So, we do really well in the insurance space.
Okay.
We have large healthcare systems that we do their websites for Medicare, Medicaid.
Love it.
We also have small companies and mid-sized companies do car insurance, home insurance.
Cool.
And we generate leads and we make the experience better, and we tie into their CRM, and we just have a really good cadence on how we work with insurance. Right now we're doing a lot of work in restaurants.
Awesome.
During the pandemic, I don't know if you noticed, but during the pandemic, all of the restaurants had to go really fast and get online ordering squared away.
Hurry up, get your QR ready, get your menu online.
Go. And to the credit of the Grubhubs and Uber Eats, those are really software companies. And so what happened is they came in and really enabled the restaurants to do online ordering. But now that the pandemic is over and people are back to normal, the question is that the right platform for you to do your online ordering? So we've been, it's like you sell a lot through Amazon. That's good. But now that you've sold a lot through Amazon, are you happy with the marketplace, or would you rather have more ownership of the customer?
Totally.
So we do a lot of e-com, a lot of restaurants, really any complex work. We like complex work.
Hey there, friends. Todd Westra here. I want to thank you so much for listening to this episode, but I also want to take just a few seconds to let you know about a project that we've been putting together for the last several months, and we're finally launching it, called the Captain's Council. You see, as a CEO or operator of a business, it can feel like you get stuck in your own head a lot of the time. You get challenges that you don't know how to resolve. You get people causing problems in your leadership team that you don't know how to resolve, and it's so hard to overcome those things by yourself. You don't have to anymore. Join the Captain's Council. Captain's Council is a group of other CEOs and operators and owners of businesses where we come together once a month for several hours to discuss the biggest challenges you're facing. You express to the council of 8 to 10 people about what's going on. Where do you feel stuck? And these other people are in the same boat as you. They're running and operating their own businesses. They're your peers. They help you kind of dissect what's happening and help you see things that you may not have seen all by yourself. If you don't have a good, strong network of people around you, come join the Captain's Council. This is going to be something that will change the way you run your business and open your eyes to opportunities that you have never seen without the help of your peer group. Come check it out, captainscouncil.com. I love it. Yeah. I mean, I could probably safely say that over the life of the internet, you have probably built a website in almost any genre and any theme. And so I think we'll leave it at that. But it is good to know who your favorites are, because companies that know who they want to drive their business to generally find that kind of business. And so I totally appreciate you being so clear on who you like to work with. Tell me a little bit about your company now. Now that we kind of know who you like to serve and what you do to help them and how you drive that, tell us about your growth journey. I mean, a company that's been doing the same thing this long is likely very successful, but also has hit a lot of interesting steps along the journey. What are some high points along that journey? What are some inflection points that have kind of brought you to where you are to stay in business this long?
There's so many learnings in the last 25 plus years, and maybe I'll just give you one or two for the growth audience that you're listening. But
yeah, please do.
Andrew, who's our chief technical officer, he's like a brother to me. He's worked here for 20 plus years. he was the first time I discovered, this is 1990s, late 1990s, how powerful programmers were. Right. And so I would say, Andrew, can you do this? Andrew, can you do this? And he would go, I'm doing it. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, if you can do those things, I can't imagine how many people I can sell this to. And because I don't know how to even double click. That's not my talent. So as we got more customers, I noticed Andrew was like slacking off. Like, Andrew, it used to be that you used to do this for me in a couple of hours. Now it's taking you a couple of days. Yeah. And so I'm like, you gotta get it going, buddy. And he's like, he called me JL. That's what he calls me, JL. He goes, well, JL, you interrupt me all day long. And I'm like, oh, you mean you're not getting your work done because I'm interrupting you? He goes, right, all day. All day. Oh, so I'm like, okay, this is a problem. So that's actually the first time that we went out and hired a person in India, in Pune, India. And that person didn't work out. Then we hired another one. That person didn't work out. Then we hired another, learning how to do that. And at the height, we had 35, 36 people working in our Pune office in India.
And when did you start this remote office?
Gosh, I bet it was, might have been 2000, maybe 1999, 2000. Yeah, it was early.
So before Google Cloud. I mean, for those listening, this is pre-cloud, pre-upload any files anywhere. There was no such thing, right? I mean, it was just all email files back and forth, and hopefully you get it right.
It was it was email. For sure it was email. Yeah, and then the first program that we had that helped people keep track of things was like a clunky SharePoint experience, I think. Then we moved to Basecamp. Basecamp, if you remember, was a life changer for us.
I do remember that.
That was Jason Fried, 39 Signals or something like that. And all of a sudden we could keep track of our work internationally in one portal. I mean, we have so many, it's fun to talk about, actually. We have a lot of little steps that we took. Yeah, little steps. Yeah. So they continue, Todd. I mean, we get new challenges. We get super challenges about every 4 to 5 years, like a super challenge. And those are fun to figure out. They're fun.
Right. So you have essentially, in your growth journey, you've been able to not only grow your team there in Newport area, but also internationally, which is not as easy as it sounds for most people who think this is just a no-brainer. I'm just going to pick up a team overseas. It is not that easy. But as you've been able to develop that team, how have you found the synergy between your domestic team, your international team? How do you kind of keep that moving in the right direction?
Well, it's fantastic, first of all. And you're right. It isn't just pick up a phone and all of a sudden you're going to start successfully outsourcing. That's just not the way it worked. A couple of hints I have is one, particularly in India, pay them more than they ask. So my experience is that the culture of India and how they court you from an IT perspective is they give you this pricing that is really lower than their threshold. And what happened to me in the first couple of rounds is I found out I lost them because they found jobs making more money. I was paying them what they asked. I wasn't trying to grind them. I just paid them what they asked. Just turned out they didn't ask for enough, and I learned the hard way it wasn't enough. So that's one. We also have offices in Poland where, we have a key person there, and an office now in Cairo, Egypt, for a strange reason that I could get into, but we don't have enough time. But we have this cadence where we don't close because the internet doesn't close. Right. It takes planning. It takes project management. It takes training. It's an amazing amount of effort to make it run well. You really don't go offshore to save money. You go offshore to work quickly. See, we never close. Right. The cost, by the time you're done putting in all the systems, cost is the cost. But really, we beat people on speed. Right. And that's really why we do it.
I totally appreciate that. Yeah, no, I've been outsourcing since 2006, and it's been a journey. Just kind of, as soon as I could upload a file and somebody else could see it, it all of a sudden made so much more sense to me. You're a very early adopter, very creative person to be able to have done that ahead of time. But as you've kind of developed this, I know that there's a lot of headache with that as well. Can you share with us some of the biggest challenges you had to face in trying to grow and scale this way?
Well, I don't like to talk about the pandemic because I'm sure we're exhausted with it. But the hardest thing was the pandemic. That was the most challenge that we've ever had because particularly in our offshore, particularly in India, our employees didn't just go home. They went home.
Right.
Not just home, but home. I mean, they went back to their original. Yeah, they went back to their mom and dad.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get them back in. Right.
Right.
And when the pandemic was coming to the end, I wanted people back in the office. And, Todd, there was no way of getting them back in. No. So we had a incredible, painful turnover, incredibly painful. But I'm happy to say we're through it. And you know what? We got a great team. We're back. So
when you hit this challenge, though, I mean, it sounds like for you, COVID did a couple things. I mean, it obviously made it a lot more difficult to get work done. But how did it affect your ability to get new clients? And did it affect that? And were you struggling with that? I've got work, but I don't have enough manpower to get it done. Or what was kind of that? What did that look like for you?
Well, the first thing that happened, just to not to do this, right? Because that most of my success I realized had nothing to do with me. But I will tell you, the first PPP loan that came out saved our bacon.
That's good.
It really did. I mean, we got $1 million from the government, and
wow.
And frankly, that just whether or not we'd have made it or not without that, because we didn't have to let anybody go.
Right.
But what it did is it calmed me down because people were, I don't know if you remember, this is, we didn't know what was going on. Nobody knew. Right. No. We knew that the world was going to stop for a while. We were going to get off for a while. Right. But there was anxiety was through the roof. I know it's even hard to think that's the way it was because it wasn't, it seems like a long time ago now.
It hurts to think about it.
When that program came out, I thought to myself, this is going to be okay. Right. Yeah. And the emotional calming that money gave me, and then the calming from my employees, hey, we're not going to let anyone go through this. So just hang in there. Right. And then, I think everybody was kind of just sticking together, and we lost some clients. We doubled down on others. Everyone else got their money too, Todd. Right. So now we're in 2023. I don't know if it's a time sensitive podcast, but so now we got another challenge, which is a lot of money in the market. So now we got to figure that out. That'll be another, stand by. Here comes another challenge. Here we go. But,
of course it's coming.
Yeah, so that helped us. I don't want to take credit for something that we didn't do. We got help from a great country at a great time. From a person who really doesn't like to hear, I like the work for what you get. But boy, was I thankful when our country stepped up and did that.
Well, what kind of things would you advise other companies who are kind of in this growth and scaling journey, and they are nervous about what's coming up, and we don't know if in 6 months we're going to be at war, or whether there's going to be some other crazy thing going on in the world, How do you help these other people coming up behind you in a growth cycle right now kind of prepare for moments like what you went through?
Yeah, I wish I had the answer, but I will tell you what's worked for me my whole life, and I've been very, very lucky. But I think I've been lucky because I approach every engagement, and so does my team, with just doing your very best. Because frankly, Todd, you never know who you're serving or who you're. I mean, my first job, the guy hired me off a restaurant floor. I had no idea that he was even looking at me as a potential. But you know what? This has happened to me over and over and over. And for our company, which is a services company, you never know who you're serving. You never know who's watching, but you're always on stage, right? So if you are just always bringing it, my experience is good things will happen.
People are watching. People are watching. Even the people you don't think are watching.
You're being watched.
I love it.
Watched. Yeah.
Well, who in your circle, I love to ask our guests, who's been an inspiration to them to kind of inspire them in the growth journey that they've been on?
Well, I'll give you an organization and I'll also give you a person. Is that all right?
Love it.
Okay. The organization is Vistage. Vistage is an organization that services small, medium-sized businesses. They service CEOs and key executives. And I joined Vistage 12 years ago, and I had no idea what I was getting into. But that group and the brothers and sisters that I met in that group changed my life. It really taught me how to get through. And I don't like to talk about money very much, but let's say I was a $4 or $5 million company then.
Right.
I can tell you now that we're more than double that, but we would have never had that growth if I didn't walk into the Vistage meeting. And so my Vistage chair, his name was Willie. He was great. All of the people that made up the Vistage team, we met Thursdays once a month to work on each other's business. I would recommend that to anyone trying to get unstuck, is find a peer group or a Vistage group. Yeah.
Totally love it. Yep.
The other person I'd love to shout out is a mentor of mine. His name is Lynn Guerin. And Lynn runs the John R. Wooden course. And whether or not you know John Wooden or not, he has this philosophy called the Pyramid of Success. And we adopted this pyramid with Lynn's help 4 or 5 years ago. And it's really been a beacon on what our culture, behavior, and acceptable mannerisms are within our company. So I would say, Lynn, thank you for that. I mean, terrific.
That's an awesome shout out. I love that kind of stuff. Both those are so powerful because, as a founder, a lot of people have this, or even just as someone who's running an organization, it's very lonely. It's very lonely when you are the one responsible for all the main decisions that need to happen in the business. Having a peer group like what you're talking about with a Vistage style group, or having this person helping you set up some of these procedural and cultural things in your business, they are life-changing. And they bring a sense of relief. I really appreciate you bringing those up.
My uncle who passed, but he was a great sports person and was the SID at the University of Utah many, many, many years ago. He said to me something I'll always remember. And he says this, he says, Jason, every high performer has a coach.
Love it.
I mean, the best athlete has a coach. The best musician has a coach. The best business person has a coach. If you want to be a high performer, okay, every high performer has a coach.
Love it.
So I'd figure out how to find yourself a coach.
For those listening, I highly recommend it. I mean, honestly, this is a great time to point to those two types of coaches, peer groups and other mentors who are just there to help you kind of drive those initiatives to build that culture in your business. Thank you so much, Jason, for taking the time to do this today. I know that it's going to inspire some people out there who need the inspiration. And for those out there pushing, keep on pushing. Jason and I are here to tell you that it pays off at some point. So thanks so much for being here today, Jason.
Todd, appreciate you having me.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that interview. Jason's a great guy. I mean, just a truly great guy. As you could tell, he's got a lot more going on than just his marketing. He has got a full production studio, just a fascinating creative in not only where he lives, but how he's expanded his company to multiple cities in the US and multiple countries around the world. Very cool story, very specialized niche, and he serves his customers with his core values. I love everything about what he's doing, and I think it's fascinating to learn from people like this what they've done to grow and scale their business, because I know it'll inspire you and your ability to grow and scale your business. So share this episode with anyone that needs to hear it. Like and subscribe, do whatever you need to do to support this channel, because we are continuing to produce content that will inspire and help you on your growth journey in your business. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you on the next episode. And Jason, thank you for sharing your business with us.